Captain of the EMS, my very good friend, Mr. Corey Thompson. Let's give him a nice round of applause, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out tonight to celebrate our year of 2023. Before we get into the formal introductions, just in case anyone's interested, our head dispatcher, Harry Hobbs, is up here, and he's taking wagers on whether we're going to be dispatched to a lifeline activation during our banquet. So if anyone wants to put some money on it, you can. Yeah, that's true. So welcome, everyone. I do want to introduce several people who are with us tonight, and so if we can acknowledge those folks. I'd like to start with my officers, my assistant captain, Susan Roberts. Our operations supervisor, Morgan Aruda. The secretary of our membership, Diane Menard. And she's not here tonight, but I do want to acknowledge our treasurer of the membership, Tammy Trombley. Our board of directors for the past year, 2023, President Roger Favreau, Vice President Steve Menard, our treasurer of the board, Bill Loudon, our secretary of the board, Lynn Armstrong, Champlain representative, Missy Gooley, we have an outgoing Champlain representative, Sam Castine. And taking Sam's place on the board, representing Champlain, is Dan Tatro. Our Champlain volunteer rep is Chris Trombley. Our Moores volunteer rep, who for 2023 outgoing, is Tony Taylor. And our new Moores volunteer rep for this year is Mike Baker. Our bookkeeper, Juanita Munoz. And our administrative assistant, Barb Robbins. I'd like to introduce some past board members who are with us tonight. First, Don Paris. Dick Cook. And Steve Drown. We have several lifetime members with us tonight. We'll go in order here. Mr. John Aruda. Tom LaFave, Chris Trombley, Mike Baker, Richard LaFontaine, and Scarlett Sample. We have representatives here from our towns and villages that we contract with. I'd like to introduce from the town of Champlain, Mr. Tom Trombley. Tom, would you like to come up and say a few words?
Thank you, Corey. So not only was I not prepared, but now I found out I'm first. So I gotta lead this. Everybody else should be better. First of all, thank you for having me, and I really appreciate it. I'm honored because I'm in the midst of some great people, some very devoted people, healthcare workers, EMS. You take care of our community and you do it well. So when I think of the Champlain EMS, what do I think of? Dedication, love, caring. You guys, your response times are amazing, and it's because of your professionalism, and I really appreciate that. When I talk to folks within the town, it's always the same story. It's like, my God, you know, we're so lucky to have them. Recently, we had to make a call. They were there in no time. They saved my loved one. We appreciate that. We appreciate you. So thank you very much. And use this time to have fun tonight. You deserve it. Thank you.
From the Village of Champlain, Janet McFrederick. From the Town of Moores, Jeff Menard. I don't believe he's here, but from the Village of Rouses Point, John LeBounty. And from Hometown Cable and representing the Clinton County Legislator, Calvin Castine.
Your meal will be delayed by half an hour while I'm talking, so get comfortable. There's a good crowd here tonight, but last night this place was jam-packed. It was Benny Arnold's 75th birthday party, and people were parked all around here. And I was at basketball games at NAC, at Northeastern and NAC, but Judy was here, and she said a couple people showed up late and thought it was tonight. So if you're here for Benny Arnold's birthday party, you'll have to leave, I'm sorry. It was last night. 3 days ago, NYSAC, the New York State Association of Counties, held a press conference announcing their Rescue EMS campaign. It's a statewide campaign to address the problems of ambulance wait times and other shortfalls that have, in their words, in many areas of the state, thrown our emergency medical service systems into a crisis. With county leaders from throughout the state legislators and EMS professionals, they've come up with an agenda and a list of proposals that they hope will successfully address the situation. And looking over that list, I see almost all of their solutions are already being implemented here by our local Champlain-Mooers EMS. Thanks to the foresight of Ken LaPlante and others with him, and those who have followed, we have a local EMS system that shines throughout the state. Whether you are an paid employee, a volunteer, or board member, you can all be justifiably proud of the service you provide every day to our residents and visitors. Please keep up the great work, and it's truly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Calvin. Those were very nice words. Thank you. From our mutual aid departments, from the Champlain Fire Department, First Assistant Chief Jared Baker. Representing the Rouses Point Fire Department, Fire Chief Mike LeBlanc. I would like to acknowledge the West Shazy Fire Department and EMS Squad Chief Kevin Gerard and his standby crew who are at our station tonight covering us. Representing the Moores Fire Department, Second Assistant Chief Mark Fuster. Representing the Ellenburg Depot Fire Department and EMS is EMS Captain John McNeil. From dispatch, our head dispatcher, 702, Harrison Hobbs. And Harrison indicated he'd like to say a few words. Come on up, Harrison.
I don't normally do this, but it's near the end of my time, and I figured I'd start with my retirement speech here. So that half hour that he was talking about, you got an hour.
Pretty tired once.
I just want to say thank you for all you're doing up here, how your organization has come along. The other night I went to a meeting in Moores and walked in the fire station, remembered my days of when I worked for Champlain EMS and used to kind of live at the Moores Fire Station a lot. You've made great progress with your own stations and you're doing a very good job. Hopefully we can give you another pile of Lifeline calls in the next 2 days. Those are the easy ones and not have anything else. Just thank you for all you're doing and thank you for inviting me.
From the Clinton County Office of Emergency Services, our very own Car 4, Chris Trombley. And at this time, I'd like to call up Car 2, Kelly Donahue, to say a few words and perform our blessing before the meeting. Thank you.
Good evening. Wow. Usually you hear back, good evening. Good evening. Oh, praise be to Jesus. Are we going to have a party or what? You got a lot of people out here and it's awful quiet, you know. You got to be able to celebrate, you know, the high holy days are coming. We got to be grateful. You know, I do a lot of these, unfortunately, and so sometimes I do things wild, sometimes I'm mellow. Yeah, that's right. I've never been mellow, Chris. You're right. I could hear him all the way over here. But you know, it is a moment to be able to say thank you again for all your hard work, and I continually do this. But it's because of you who dedicate yourselves, the men and women that get up at all hours of the evening and night. And it becomes difficult. But without you, people would not be able to continue in their community as safely as you allow them to. And Tom, you said it well. Thank you. A good leader has good words, and your words were very clear. And the one word that I heard was doing it out of love. And that, I appreciate that. I think it's so important to remember that people do appreciate you and they do love you. Sometimes they don't always show it. You know, we know that. There's a few choice words along the way as well, I'm sure. But you know, you still work through it. So thank you for all you're doing. Yes, Lifeline is kind of a connection for the elderly. And you know what? You're still doing it, whether it's a call that may not be real, or maybe it is, and you're not aware of it till you get there. So it's all about responding and doing well, whether it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock in the morning. And thank you for your dedication and service. On behalf of the office, Eric Day, myself, Shauna, and all the dispatchers here, Amy, Micherie, Harrison, you know, his third retirement, we thank you. But you know what? We need to thank these men and women because they really do work hard. And these last few months, they've worked even harder because it's a new system that they are learning with CAD. But I gotta tell you, once they get it, it really is a good tool. And you in the field are gonna appreciate it even more with some of the extras that are added, where you'll be able to see where your partners are working within the community. It really is gonna do well for us. So I wanna thank these dispatchers here for their dedication and commitment.
And service.
Oh, and service, as Amy reminded me. Let us pray. Lord God, we give you thanks and praise for the gift of life, the gift of love, and for these men and women that continue to dedicate themselves for their community. Continue to bless them and guide them as they do their journey this night and celebrate this night, their services, their work within the community. And bless this food we're about to eat, that it may always nurture us. We always ask this in your Son's name, our Lord Jesus Christ. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Kelly. It is time to eat, so we'll be back after dinner for awards. Thank you so much. Thank you again, everyone. So right off the top, I do want to extend a very big thank you to Courtney Patnode and the staff at the American Legion for a wonderful meal. I do have one extra introduction. Was on my list but wasn't here and showed up after we were done. We have a fairly new medical director that we've been working with. Dr. Michael Durso is here tonight. I'd like to introduce the banquet committee, the folks responsible for putting all of this on for you tonight. The chairperson of the committee, Diane Menard. And she was assisted by the following people. We had Morgan Arruda, Emily Favreau, Dawn Bolris, and Mary LaValle. We had, as always, we have new membership that joined in 2023. I'm going to read the entire list and then we'll give them a nice round of applause. So on the paid staff side, we had Chase Brooks, Sierra Fry, Thomas Houserath, and Jamie Stewart. And on the volunteer side, we had Sam Allen, Erica Caron, and Anthony Jensen, new members. We have two new AEMTs in our agency, Dawn Bolris and Crystal LaValle. Hot off the press, brand new paramedic Alex Provost. We have several people in classes currently. In the basic class, we have Jared Baker, Anthony Jensen, and Mary LaValle. Currently in the AEMT program, we have Thomas Houserath and Jamie Stewart. Finishing up her paramedic bridge program is Shannon Seguin. And currently in the paramedic program, we have John McNeil, Dawn Bolris, and Emily Favreau. One thing I like to do at these banquets is share a few statistics from the previous year, and it seems like every year I stand up here and say we set a new record, and this year I'm going to say it again, we set a new record for ambulance calls handled in 2023. We handled 1,512 calls in the year 2023. The breakdown from our three districts, we had 624 calls in Champlain, 508 calls in the town of Moores, and 322 calls in the village of Rouses Point. We handled 53 mutual aid responses where we needed to go to another district to help, and we received mutual aid 15 times from our surrounding agencies when we needed help. And Tom Trombley alluded to this earlier, but one thing I'm always proud to announce at these banquets is our average response time. This is from the time the call happens to the time the ambulance is on the road responding to the emergency for all 1,512 calls was 1.76 minutes. We have several highlights from the year. We answered a record number of calls. We did order a new ambulance that's slated to be delivered toward the end of April, early May timeframe. I was actually just on the phone with our representative, Mr. Jeff Dorado, and he did say he wanted to extend his congratulations on a very successful year, and we certainly look forward to taking delivery of that ambulance soon. We recruited 8 new members on the volunteer and paid staff ranks. We conducted and were part of multiple cross trainings with our local fire departments. We have 10 providers that are currently in class to extend their training and either become an EMT or move up within the different levels of care. We saw the completion of a 3-year plan that was laid out with our towns and villages to streamline employee wages to be amongst the most competitive rates in all of Clinton County. We're very proud of that. We created a 5-year plan for continued high-quality ambulance coverage within our contracted towns, and we recreated another 10-year plan for ambulance replacement. So Roger asked me at a board meeting, he says, we need to come up with a plan for ambulance replacement. I said, Roger, I did that when I became captain. He says, yes, you did a 10-year plan, and you've been captain for 10 years. And it kind of stunned me for a minute. And I said, well, I guess I got to do another one. So I did go out 20 years, so I should never have to do that again. And probably the biggest highlight, in my opinion, was the introduction of an EMS memorial at our ambulance station. We had a very nice celebration of all of the folks that were, have since, we've lost over the years, but we certainly remember those folks and honor those folks. And the EMS memorial at our station, I know a lot of you have seen it. We're very, very proud to have that as part of part of our station and able to remember those folks on an annual basis. So I'm very, very proud of the EMS memorial that we have. Some of our goals for 2024 coming up, continue to recruit new volunteers. I think that's always something we're striving to do. Continue to support the transition for providers from one level of care to another. We'll continue to support volunteerism in our communities. And one thing that we've been working on at the board level is an incentive program for all of our volunteer responders. And that is currently in the works of being rolled out. And I'm very excited that by the end of this year, we will have a bona fide incentive program for all of our volunteer members. And of course, to continue to provide quality response and care to the citizens of Champlain-Mooers and Rouses Point and our neighbors under the mutual aid system. At this time, I'd like to reintroduce and call up our operations supervisor to help me with awards, Miss Morgan Aruda.
Don't talk here like you talk on the phone. We'll be here till Tuesday.
10 minutes, Morgan. 10 minutes. Chipper.
Doing
Yes.
We're going to start off the awards piece of our banquet tonight with the Top Responder Award. So we give out a Top Responder Award for the category of driver and medical provider. So our first Top Responder Award under the driver category with 70 calls in 2023, Diane Menard. Another Top Responder Award on the driver category with 65 calls in 2023, Jared Baker. Top responder on the medical category with 135 calls last year, Caleb Trombley. And top responder under the medical category, answering 52 calls in 2023, Susan Roberts. Next, we'd like to recognize years of service for several of our members. We'll start with the 5 years of service category, and we'll start with Dawn Bulris, 5 years. Vicki Brunel. With 5 years, Katie Gehrig. From our paid staff, James Morissette. Also from our paid staff, Alex Provost. And rounding out our 5-year service awards, Tony Taylor. Next, with 10 years of service to our agency, Jared Baker. We have two 15-year awards to give out. The first goes to Craig Bosley. And our second 15-year recipient, Cody Seymour. Next, we have two board awards recognizing folks that served on the board and are getting off the board at the end of 2023. The first served as a one-year volunteer rep for the Moore side, and that would be Tony Taylor. And for 5 years of dedicated service to our board of directors from the town of Champlain, Mr. Sam Castine. So last year, every year we do what we call SAVE awards. So if we respond to a call and have a cardiac arrest reversal where somebody was in cardiac arrest and we're able to bring them back. And a SAVE is considered that not only do we restore their heartbeat and breathing, but they do return home and are able to be discharged from the hospital. So we have two tonight, and I'd like you to tell you the backstories here, and then we're gonna recognize all of the folks that were involved in these particular calls. On November 20th, 2023, at 15:03 hours, dispatchers Amy Brewster and Micherie Brunel dispatched Champlain-Mooers EMS, along with the Rouses Point Fire Department and EMS, to a female having trouble breathing. While responding to the call, Amy and Micherie updated the crew that the patient was now in cardiac arrest. The two dispatchers tag-teamed the call, giving instructions over the phone and updating incoming responders. First to arrive on scene was J.J. LaFountain Bernie Savage, and Eddie Martin from the Rouses Point Fire Department and EMS. They immediately started CPR and other life-saving measures until EMS 463 arrived on scene. As luck would have it, the crew of Tim Miller and Craig Bosley had two ride-alongs that day, paramedic Lola Miller and paramedic in training John McNeil. The crew immediately deployed the Lucas device to administer continuous automated CPR. Working as a team, the crew initiated an IV, provided airway management, and gave an initial set of cardiac drugs. With the patient still flatline on the monitor, a second round of cardiac drugs was administered. With no changes still, the crew began to aggressively attempt to resuscitate this patient. Through careful diagnosis, the crew realized the patient's blood sugar was extremely high. Suspecting that this might have contributed to the patient's cardiac arrest, the crew started an IO in the patient's leg and began administering a rapid fluid bolus into the patient to try and counteract the high blood sugar. An advanced airway was also placed to ensure adequate ventilations were being given. A third round of drugs was administered, but still no change. At this point, several other members were arriving on scene. EMS 461 arrived with Morgan Arruda and Anthony Jensen. EMS 462 out of Moores arrived with Dawn Bulris and Jamie Stewart. And paramedic Alex Provost, EMT Caleb Tremblay, and Champlain Fire First Assistant Chief Jared Baker all arrived on scene in their personal vehicles to assist. After a fourth round of cardiac drugs, discussion began about terminating the resuscitation efforts due to the fact it had been almost 30 minutes of continuous flatline on the monitor. At this point, John McNeil happened to glance over at the monitor, and there it was. The patient had a heart rhythm on the monitor. A carotid pulse was detected, and the crew immediately began transfer to the ambulance. While loading the patient in the ambulance, our agency was called out to another call in Champlain. Craig, Morgan, Dawn, Jamie, and Anthony headed back to Champlain to handle the second call, while the rest began transporting the patient to the hospital. With Caleb Tremblay at the wheel, the crew of Tim Miller, Lola Miller, Alex Provost, and John McNeil worked diligently to stabilize this patient, keeping her breathing and keeping her heart from stopping again. With more fluids, more drugs, and continuous oxygen therapy, the patient was delivered to CVPH ER in a serious but stable condition. CVPH teams treated the high sugar levels and fully stabilized the patient, who was eventually discharged back home. I've been in communication with this particular patient for the last 2 weeks. She was back and forth whether she could attend tonight and decided not to, but she wanted to pass along these words. She gives a very special thank you to her best friend who called 911 and all of the responders who responded that day and ultimately saved her life. After being in cardiac arrest for 32 minutes, she reports to be doing well and is having fun this weekend traveling with her best friend. At this time, we'd like to recognize all of the providers that responded to that call that day. We'll start with the dispatch crew, dispatcher 705, Amy Brewster. Dispatcher 706, Micherie Brunel. From the Rouses Point Fire Department and EMS, Eddie Martin. Is Eddie here? I don't think he is. I don't think JJ's here. Bernie Savage. Bernie Savage. Champlain Fire First Assistant Chief Jared Baker. like to call up Attendant Anthony Jensen. AEMT Dawn Bolris. Paramedic Morgan Aruda. Paramedic Craig Bosley. And the transporting crew for this call, driver EMT Caleb Trombley.
There's always one in the crowd.
Paramedic Alex Provost. And something we're all very proud of. The person that was ultimately in charge of this call and ultimately was responsible for saving this person's life was paramedic student Jonathan McNeil. I told the patient from this call that we would send a picture of all of the crew, so as soon as we get John situated here, we'll take the picture and send it.
Can you believe they trust me with drugs?
You want us to stand back there? Come stand, circle,
This is, before they sit back down, this is just one of many examples of what makes me very proud to be the captain of this agency, that when we have an ambulance call like this, we have a great response. And it's something that makes me very proud that when, we handle a lot of calls, obviously, as we've reported, but when we get a critical call, we get a lot of help at these calls, and this is no exception. It takes a lot of people to make something like this happen, and very proud of this crew for saving this woman's life. So one more time. Our second SAVE Award occurred on October 2nd, 2023. Now, oftentimes, with as many calls as we get, Champlain EMS is dispatched to what we call back-to-back calls within our district. And while these back-to-back calls are occurring, sometimes we even get a third call in our district where we rely on our volunteers and off-duty paid personnel to scramble the third ambulance to respond. This day is an example of the kind of situation I'm talking about. At 9:03 a.m., we were dispatched to a call in Rouses Point. At 9:05 a.m., we were dispatched to a second call in Rouses Point, totally unrelated to the first call. A short time after those calls went out, a local resident in Champlain asked her husband to drive her to Hudson Headwaters Medical Center because she wasn't feeling well. As the nursing staff was performing an initial intake of info and vitals, the woman slumped over and went into cardiac arrest right in front of her husband. At 9:41 a.m., dispatchers Harrison Hobbs and Priscilla Albin fielded a call from Hudson Headwaters and dispatched our agency to a third call in district for a woman in cardiac arrest with CPR in progress. Head nurse on scene, Melissa Gooley, along with RNs Caitlin Madison, Nicole Davis, and nurse practitioner Nicole Baker, acted quickly to perform high-quality CPR and give airway management. Within 1 minute, an AED was deployed and a shock was delivered to the patient, converting her heart back into a normal rhythm. Still unconscious and not breathing, the medical staff continued CPR for several minutes while also breathing for the patient. Knowing we were out on several calls already, RN Nicole Davis decided to call Shazy School to see if I was available to respond. Not making that up. The school was very receptive, and I'm always thankful for that. They got coverage for my classroom, and I quickly ran out to my truck and headed north. My first call was to Chris Trombley, who I saw was responding on I Am Responding, and he said he was headed to the station to get the ambulance, while other volunteer responders, Jared Baker and Bernie Savage, were headed to the scene. Chris and crew emergently responded to Hudson Headwaters with the 3rd ambulance. As I was arriving on scene, the patient was being loaded into the back of the ambulance. Chris was breathing for the patient while Melissa and I hooked up an EKG monitor. At this point, the patient had a good heartbeat and good oxygen saturation. With Bernie Savage at the wheel, Chris, Melissa, and myself began transport to CVPH. Multiple IVs, meds, fluids, and assistance with breathing. The patient began to breathe on her own after about 10 minutes. And eventually, she was able to communicate with the EMS crew. On arrival at the hospital, the patient was transferred for further cardiac care and treatment. I think what made this call so intense was that we weren't just treating any patient. We weren't treating a stranger. We were treating an original member of Champlain EMS. And we were treating someone whose husband is a lifetime member of the Champlain Fire Department. So this really hit close to home for all of us. And that's why it gives me great pleasure right now to introduce to you the patient from this call and her husband, Beth Kissel and Woody Kissel. So at this time, we'd like to recognize the responders for this call, and Beth is going to hand out the awards. Dispatcher 702 Harrison Hobbs. Champlain Fire Department First Assistant Chief Jared Baker. Our driver for this call, Bernie Savage. EMT Chris Trombley.
Paramedic in charge, Corey Thompson. And the people truly responsible for saving Beth's life.
We'll start with RN Caitlin Madison. RN Nicole Davis. Nurse Practitioner Nicole Baker. And the RN in charge of this call, our very own Melissa Gooley.
Come on in.
I don't know about that, Chris. Another round of applause.
Cried so much. Wait till you're going, what the hell? You'll be crying.
I'm gonna call you up to this. At this time, we're going to do our Employee of the Year award, and this year, Morgan Aruda is going to give that award. So I reintroduce Morgan Aruda.
A recipient of Employee of the Year for 2023 has shown their peers in leadership that they are a team player and will assist in any way. This person is great with patience, always showing compassion and empathy. They are also an excellent leader, providing a wealth of knowledge and a friendly face when you ask him for help, and so much more. So instead of me continuing about why I think they deserve this award, I'd like to share some of their peers' comments. They are always someone you can go to in confidence and know you will get an honest response from them. They are super helpful in getting charts submitted and always willing to explain and show what to do with charts. They make themselves readily available, is most definitely a team player, assists in any way possible to allow others on their team grow, great with patience, and a great leader. On behalf of their peers, I am happy to announce the 2023 Employee of the Year, Mr. Craig Bosley.
Craig, do you want to say anything? You know, I'll just kind of piggyback off of what Morgan said. You know, we've all known Craig for a long, long time, and I've never remissed an opportunity to mention how Craig was one of my initial mentors here in the North Country when I moved here. Craig at that time was a member of the Shazy Fire Department and EMS squad, and when we would call for ALS link-ups, it was always Craig that was linking up with our ambulance. And I learned so much from Craig over the years, and I know this year in particular was a tough year for Craig, and to see him receive this award tonight means a lot. So congratulations, Craig. At this time, I'd like to ask Diane Menard to come up. You heard the applause, I'd worry. Diane joined Champlain-Mooers EMS in 2013 to be an ambulance driver. That was her intention. I can say with confidence that Diane is just as dedicated today as she was in 2013. She has literally committed the last decade of her life to this agency. and has been an important part of the growth of this agency over the last 10 years. Diane holds multiple duty crew nights in Moores and will often get called out multiple times a night to drive the ambulance. Diane has also been serving as our Secretary of the Membership since 2016. She has been in charge of multiple banquet committees and summer barbecue committees to ensure that all of our members and their guests have a great time and are able to celebrate with each other. Diane has received multiple Top Responder Awards, Save Awards, and Driver Awards. Tonight, we celebrate Diane's continued dedication to an agency that she truly loves. At this time, before we present the award, I would like to ask Michaela Monti to come up to present this award with me in honor of her father. Ladies and gentlemen, the Eric S. Monti Driver of the Year for 2023, Miss Diane Menard. That's the first time she's been speechless. I would tend to agree. No. Steve is shaking his head no. At this time, I'd like to call Caleb Trombley up front. Caleb Trombley officially joined Champlain-Mooers EMS in 2021. In his short tenure with this agency, Caleb has already received multiple Top Responder Awards, Save Awards, and was named the Driver of the Year in 2022. This year, we are acknowledging and celebrating Caleb's achievements as a medical provider. In 2022, Caleb became a certified basic EMT and has responded to over 200 calls in the last 2 years. Caleb has a deep dedication and desire to serve his community and respond any chance that he can. There is no doubt this desire stems from his parents, Chris and Tammy, who are both lifetime members of Champlain-Mooers EMS. Caleb was immersed in the fire and EMS service his entire life. So when it came time for him to answer the call to action, he was ready. Caleb has even taken his skills and branched out to other organizations, such as Dannemora EMS, where he serves as a professional EMT. I think the thing that I'm most proud of is Caleb's confidence in the ambulance. He approaches calls with a sense of focus, calm, and compassion, and this makes his patients feel more at ease in their time of need. I can't wait to see what the future holds for this young man, but for right now, I am proud that he is an active member of this agency. And with that said, I present to you our Basic Life Support Provider of the Year for 2023, Mr. Caleb Trombley.
Well, he's not like his dad.
Thank goodness. At this time, I'd like to introduce Assistant Captain Susan Roberts and Morgan Aruda to present the ALS Provider of the Year Award.
Our recipient for the Advanced Care Provider for 2023 has shown a pattern of activities that show a significant improvement in the care of patients within our community. We don't have one event to point out to you. However, there is accumulation of events where our provider has shown exemplary leadership and skill. He has steadily maintained and improved his skills with trainings, CMEs, and classroom time to keep his skills sharp.
Corey has been with our agency since 2002, acted as captain since 2011. Corey has provided education to our community in the form of CPR classes. His longevity, innovation, dedication, responsible actions, and executive and management skills in maintaining and promoting our EMS organization within our community is commendable. Please join me in thanking Corey Thompson for his leadership and dedication to Champlain-Mooers EMS as EMS ALS Provider of the Year 2020.
That was very sweet. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Why? I've done enough speaking already tonight. I'm not going to speak. We have two more awards, and these are very, very special awards. So I'd like to start by asking Mike Baker to come forward, please.
You got here.
At our banquet in 2013, we had what I affectionately called a Mike moment. We honored Mike Baker with a Top Responder Award, 30-year Service Award, and our Driver of the Year Award that year. Well, tonight we are going to have Mike moment number 2. Mike joined Champlain Fire and EMS in 1983. Mike has held every office in the fire service, including ranks of fire lieutenant, fire captain, second assistant chief, first assistant chief, and chief of the Champlain Fire Department. Mike has been a dedicated driver for Champlain-Mooers EMS since he joined in 1983. Mike has been holding routine duty crew nights and responding on off times when we get busy. Mike was just elected as our volunteer board rep for Moores this year, showing that even after all this time, he is still wanting to give back to his community and his fellow volunteer brothers and sisters. But above all, Mike is a family man. In the summer, he loves spending time at camp with his family and friends, and in the winter months, he's been known to host a few card games at his house. Well, here we are after all this time, and now Mike finds himself as our most veteran member on our volunteer roster. Mike has dedicated his entire life to serving his community, and tonight we wish to recognize him for his service. Ladies and gentlemen, for 40 years of dedicated service to Champlain-Mooers EMS, I present to you Mr. Mike Baker.
No, I'm good. Yeah.
And this is our last award for the night, and I've been looking forward to giving this one for the last year, actually. So at this time, I'd like to call Assistant Captain Susan Roberts forward, please. It's nice going second. 20 years ago, Sue was inspired to join Moores EMS. Within her first year of becoming a member, Sue became a certified basic EMT and would routinely answer calls with her fellow volunteers. 2007 saw the merger of Champlain EMS and Mooers EMS into becoming our agency as it's known today. It was during this time that Sue decided to advance her training and became a certified advanced critical care EMT, Tech 6689. In 2011, I named Susie my first assistant captain of Champlain-Mooers EMS, a position she continues to hold to this day. She has served proudly as a leader of this agency and has promoted volunteers and volunteerism in Mooers and Champlain. Sue takes so much pride in her dedication to helping others in her community through EMS and through the church. Susie inspires us all to be the best version of ourselves. She continually reminds all of us that while we are out there taking care of others, it is important to remember to take care of ourselves and each other. To help me give out this award, I would like to call up Susie's niece, Michaela Monty. Michaela is an example of the kind of inspiration Susan Roberts brings to people. Michaela followed in her aunt's footsteps and joined Champlain-Mooers EMS fresh out of high school. After several years of service to the North Country, Michaela took her skill set to the Capital Region, where she is currently serving as a paramedic. Susie, we love you, and we thank you for all that you have done for this agency over the years. And it is with my profound honor that I and Michaela present Assistant Captain Susan Roberts for 20 years of dedicated service, the Champlain-Mooers EMS Lifetime Membership Award. That was a good one. Yeah. So as we...
It comes apart. It's magnetic.
You should see her in the back of the ambulance. As we wrap up our awards part of our night, we want to remind all of our members of two things. Immediately when we break, we'd like all of our membership to come up so we can take our annual photo, and then also all of our members to receive their gift on behalf of our agency. But before we do, just again, one more big thank you to the American Legion for hosting us tonight. To all of our town and village officials from Champlain, Mooers, and Rouses Point, we thank you for all of your continued support, and we thank you for being with us tonight. To all of our neighboring fire and EMS agencies, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for sharing in the dedication to serve our communities. To all of our members, it means so much that you could be here to celebrate another successful year. I consider myself extremely lucky to have been chosen to continue to serve as your EMS captain. I am so proud of each and every one of you for putting your lives on the line to serve our communities with such honor and passion. And lastly, I want to thank the families of our membership. It is never lost on me just how much sacrifice you make so that your loved one can run out and go help someone. Please know how much we appreciate your understanding when your husband or wife or mom or dad is gone for hours or misses dinner or comes home emotional after a stressful call. Your support and love for this agency means more than you could possibly know. So on behalf of all of our members, we thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and I'd like to formally introduce Roger from CR Tunes to provide our entertainment. Turn it over to Roger.
I'm going to